I hope to share some information with you about what companies are doing to really catapult the equity journey with a particular focus on Black talent without four-year degrees. So let me jump right in, and hopefully we'll have some time to have a little back and forth at the end. So a little bit of history, right? 2020 occurred. And in 2020, we had a pandemic, right? And that pandemic had and still has a disproportionately adverse impact on Black communities and other communities of color. We had a recession that the country is rebounding from, but a recession that also had a disproportionately adverse impact on Black talent in communities of color. And we had the killing of Ahmaud Arbery, Breonna Taylor, and most especially the murder of Mr. George Floyd right in front of our faces, literally. And this motivated a group of CEOs, namely Ken Frazier, who at the time was CEO of Merck, and Ken Chenault, who had been the CEO of American Express, to ask the question, what can business do to help the country become a more perfect union? And what they decided was what business does better than anything else was produce jobs. And that was the place to focus. They enlisted some teammates, Jenny Rometty, who at the time was the CEO of IBM, and Charles Phillips, who had done a number of things, who is at Infor, and then Kevin Shearer, who had been the CEO of Amgen. And they started focusing on the opportunity to use jobs as a way to help us create a more perfect union, a way to get at a gap that I want to talk about, and a way to help the country and the business community continue to pursue a journey that included more equity and inclusion. So this is what they started looking at. These data show a number of things. One, they show a racial wealth gap in the country that we have at this moment as we speak that is at least 10-1 if you compared the wealth of white families versus the wealth of Black families. And by the way, if you disaggregate that and start looking at different markets around the country, that number is greater than 10-1. The Federal Reserve Bank of Boston did a study a few years back, and they determined that the net worth of a white family in the Boston area was somewhere around $247,000. And the net worth of a Black family in the Boston area was somewhere around $8. No zeros, $8. 247,008. Boston. You can replicate disparities like that in most of our major metropolitan areas, although Boston is up there in terms of disparity. And so you can't get at a wealth gap in the country unless you get at several things, including quality jobs, right? Who has the jobs that pay enough wages that allow you to save money, pay for housing, pay for transportation, invest in your and your children's education? right? And so when they started breaking down the jobs piece, they looked and discovered that if you look at jobs that pay, and this is today, by the way, this is not history. This is today. In fact, it is worse today because COVID has impacted these numbers. Jobs that pay $60,000 and above, on paper, 79% of them require a 4-year degree. Jobs that pay $40,000 and above, on paper, 71% of them require a 4-year degree. That's your right hand column. And then if you look right next to it, what you discover is if you look at Black talent in the workforce today, ages 25 and above, 76% of us do not yet have a 4-year degree. And oh, by the way, that number is 66% for white talent. We have a systemic barrier in the private sector to one earning their way into the middle class in this country that is contributing to an incredible wealth and opportunity and, let's face it, power gap in the country. These CEOs looked at this and said, let's take on this systemic barrier. That's where the vision for 110 came from. They decided that they were going to rally their colleagues and head for the North Star of hiring and promoting 1 million Black talent who do not yet have 4-year degrees into family-sustaining careers and jobs over 10 years. 110. That's how this came about. We have been recruiting companies to come on board to this journey. We're up to about 60 companies now. And the companies basically make a handful of commitments. One, to put jobs that don't require 4-year degrees on the table for Black talent who don't have 4-year degrees to compete for. 2, and this one is one reason why we call this 110 and not 11, because this is going to be a journey, not something we can do in 1 year. We're asking companies to make their talent management, their talent hiring practices more equitable, more inclusive. Remove the 4-year degree requirement where it's not the only way that you can come about the skills needed to do the job. Focus on the skills that you need that employee to have on day one and the skills that you need that employee to have in year 2, in year 3, in year 4, and so on. And what are the pathways with an S on the end that one can come about those skills? Remove the 4-year degree requirement. Focus on a skills-based approach to hiring and promoting. That's the core of the 110 journey. That's the essence of the barrier we're trying to break through. We're saying it doesn't make sense for 79% of the jobs that require a 4-year degree or 79% of the jobs that pay a family-sustaining wage to require a 4-year degree as a gateway. So that improving hiring and retention and advancement and other practices, a huge piece of the 110 commitment. The third piece, and it's connected, is to engage all in a community of practice. So the 60 companies that are in the 110 coalition, the CEOs meet 3 or 4 times a year. Right now, we're curating it virtually. I didn't know what Zoom was, by the way, before, but that's another discussion for us to have. But we bring them together virtually, 2 hours once a quarter, and we wrestle with and learn from one another and find ways to work together on the things that we've got to be great on to achieve the North Star. How do you do skills first hiring? Who's done it? Who's doing it well? Tell me about your experience. Tell me how you did it. Tell me where I start. Tell me what jobs. Tell me how I prepare my hiring managers and my people managers. How do you make sure that talent has transparent career pathways, right? That this is more than hiring. This is about hiring, advancement, promotion, thriving. How do you use apprenticeships as a way to hire and upskill and train folks? All the things that you can think of that go into the practices, the culture, the change management that the companies actually have to bring about. That's what we wrestle with in the context of the community of practice. We have a track for the CEOs, and it's a commitment that the CEOs have to make. And we have a track for the CHROs as well. The fourth piece is the companies are actually putting money in the game as well. So the coalition requires resources to do its work. And so the companies are making an annual financial contribution to the 110 Coalition, which is incorporated as a 501c3. And then the final piece is that 10-year commitment. We're saying we're trying to change the companies in a fundamental way, partner with Black talent to help Black talent transform the trajectories of their families, and humbly, but unabashedly, change the country. And as I say, we don't think you can do that in 10 months, right? And so we're asking for a 10-year commitment to this journey. Now, we know that if we fix this issue, that more than Black talent without 4-year degrees will be impacted, right? I just mentioned to you, 66% of all talent don't have 4-year degrees. This is a systemic barrier that is talent-wide. So we're focused on a particular cohort, and we're focused intensely. But our expectation is that this is a systemic transformation that's going to benefit a number of different groups. Black talent with 4-year degrees, white talent without 4-year, that this is going to impact companies and families all over the country. Now, not just any jobs, right? So for us, for the jobs to count toward that 1 million journey, the jobs have to have 4 attributes. 1, they have to pay a living wage. And we use the MIT living wage calculator to discern what that is by metropolitan area. 2, the jobs, what do I say? They cannot be jobs at risk of not being around, of being automated out in the short term. 3, jobs cannot have a 4-year degree requirement as a gateway. And by the way, people can certainly get 4-year degrees along the way. In fact, this is not an anti-4-year degree effort. This is about it not being a gating mechanism for an opportunity. And then the final piece is the level of work experience. Again, this is the gateway piece. Less than 5 years work experience. Any jobs that have these 4 attributes count for the 110 journey. Every manufacturing job that has these attributes are jobs that count for the 4-year journey. And just to do a little bit of a sidebar, I am incredibly excited about the opportunity to partner with manufacturers, because we believe that some of the best quality jobs out there and opportunities out there are in the manufacturing sector. And so I'm looking forward. I'm grateful that you've given me a chance to chat with you, because I'm looking forward to a sustained partnership with you to go at this opportunity. So these are the jobs for us that count. A lot here, but let me give you what this is all about. The work itself is about building and scaling an ecosystem. The ecosystem starts on the demand side with companies and jobs. But the second piece is the talent developers that we have to bring to the table in order to make sure that we're equipping the talent to be successful. What this slide gives you a sense of is that talent development component of the ecosystem that we're bringing to the family. So it ranges from community colleges and junior colleges to 2-year HBCUs to nonprofit boot camps to military transition programs to these online platforms. What we're doing is we're doing a quality check. We're going out, we're recruiting and endorsing organizations in this space, in this field, whose track record suggests they can produce the product that you're looking for. Talent that has the skill sets and the aptitudes to learn more skills to do the jobs excellently that you have. That's the second piece of the ecosystem. The third piece is obviously the talent, right? We would source that talent, or are sourcing that talent, first and foremost through their relationships with the talent developers, right? There are 1,000 community colleges across the country that we are reaching out to that are right now, as we speak, educating over 350,000 Black talent, Black students. And so part of our sourcing strategy is our partnerships with those organizations that are in that business. We're also doing direct marketing, partnerships with the Urban League and the NAACP and faith-based organizations and CDCs. We're scattering multiple channels to bring the talent to the table. The fourth piece of the ecosystem that is not explicit on here that I should mention is the wraparound support. So I'll give you an example. We've got a company that has a manufacturing operation in the Philadelphia area, but it's outside of Philly. It is 45 minutes outside of Philly in West Point. I think I've been staying within the walls, but forgive me if I haven't. We're sourcing talent for them from North Philly. Well, that talent, if it took public transportation to get to the facility in West Point, would have a 90-minute minimum commute each way. Guess who raised their hand for that commute, right? So we partnered with a transportation organization who is giving talent for the first year a ride to and from work, right? So we know that if you really want talent to thrive, yes, the hard and soft skills, we need those, but childcare, transportation, mentors and coaches, mental wellness, that's got to be part of the package as well. So the fourth piece of the ecosystem that we're curating for this effort are the wraparound or talent supports. We have a tech platform that has all of these players on it. Companies are uploading jobs. Talent developers are uploading their boot camps and their catalogs. Talent is coming on and being matched with jobs and talent developers. Employers are receiving hits that suggests matches from the talent. It's an AI-driven platform. Virtually, all of this is being linked. Secondly, we've picked right now 25 markets around the country where there's an overlap of demand and Black talent. And we're doing it the old-fashioned way as well. Hand-to-hand, relationship to relationship, organization to organization, ecosystem building, right? It's old school now, right? But we're doing it as COVID allows. This effort is about scaling that ecosystem. That's what this effort is about. There are membership options for this, but I won't bore you with those. The bottom line is we have large companies, we have mid-sized companies, we have small companies, we have associations. We welcome all of them into the 110 journey. Let me pause on this one. So for a company to actually meet its aspirations with respect to hires and promotes, there's several ways. First is just the direct hires and promotes of the company, right, that they make. The second is the promotions, right, that they also achieve. But what I wanted to follow up on or make sure I highlight is companies also can meet their goals or aspirations through the hires of their suppliers and vendors. So some companies have recruited their hires and vendors to be partners with them on the 110 journey, which we love. The one piece that we're not counting toward the 110 journey, but we know we're impacting, are actually additional hires of folks into jobs requiring bachelor degrees. We love that that's happening. We definitely want to impact that, but we're not counting that toward our million. Okay. That is the 110 journey. I won't bore you with any of this stuff, but I'm happy to share this deck with you as we proceed. But I started in March of this year, and I looked at the end of October to see where we were. Since March, we're already over 20,000 hires and promotes, 60 companies. What that tells me is this is doable. Now, at steady state, we want to be over 100,000 a year, right? So it also tells me we got a lot of work. We have a lot of work, but because of the commitment of the CEOs, because of the commitment of the talent developers, because there are 11 million or 10 million Black talent right now that we count who are in the workforce, who have already the skills to do work of greater responsibility and greater pay, this is doable. The raw ingredients are there. It really is about how quickly can we build and scale that ecosystem that I was mentioning. We need more laborers in the vineyard. That's the bottom line.